Let's talk about the new album, shall we? As I understand it from the album title, this album is like one of transformation. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah. So transformation and again, creative destruction has been a big theme for this album. I think that personally and musically, I think we have, like, Darren and I have just been growing so much in the last year and have had some, like, we've been changing and evolving as people. And I think that there has been this sense of, like, finding structures and finding ways of being that, like, no longer served us, and getting to that point that, like, individually and together, where you kind of have to burn everything down, because it's like the very structures that you sort of built to support your own growth are the things that are actually limiting you at that point, or like at now that are kind of holding you back. So you have to be able to, like, be like, yes, I needed those then, and I don't anymore. So there has been there has definitely been sort of this sense of sort of transformation. I think that there's also something I think comes out a little bit on this album, is I think getting comfortable with, like, speaking more personally to, or writing more personally towards emotions that we're not usually as comfortable sitting with. Like, for me, sometimes anger, like, letting that find a space to, like, constructively and productively kind of come out in a song. I think grief is one that came out.
Or sadness, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and not just, like, I don't know. It, like, we have our share of sad songs, but
also joy. I mean, if you look at the album too, I mean, like, Sea Creature, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it definitely has that feeling to it.
Yeah.
But I think maybe to kind of elaborate on what Beth is saying too, I feel like it's kind of taking in some ways what Through the Night, started with, in terms of being a little more vulnerable and intimate, like, in our songwriting and what we're sharing, to the next level. Because I feel like in some ways, like as Beth said earlier too, Through the Night was almost more controlled. It was like, still like, all right, we're just going to perform and, do this. And I mean, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful album. We love it. But I feel like what it was and more, like, kind of takes both of us to the next level of being more open, vulnerable, and kind of intimate with the listener. And I think that's kind of I think a wonderful evolution of the songwriting, if you look at these three albums.
Okay. And genre-wise, should we expect it to sound like your previous stuff, or have you pulled a Taylor Swift? Is there like a synth pop song in there?
Oh my gosh.
And hip-hop, yeah.
Totally. No. With all due respect to Taylor Swift, I think I love those albums and I love her evolution there. No, I think that I think we're definitely experimenting more. We're definitely exploring more and taking more risks with our sound, which I'm really happy about. And I think we have no intention of stopping, but it's still very, very much a March to May album. Like, you will hear differences and sort of, you will probably hear that exploration, but I don't think longtime listeners will be like, what just happened here?
No. And I think it's actually kind of interesting from, like, a sonic side of things too. I feel like, on Through the Night, introducing the first piano song, If I Told You I Could Stay, was almost like an introduction to, this album to an extent as well. Because, I mean, sonically, when you introduce, another instrument as a primary instrument, when people are used to listening to guitar, right, in the past, it is a transformation, it's a shift. And I think it very much, still represents our sound, but it's very much also a shift sonically than what Through the Night is to an extent. I mean, there's still the strings and there's still the the wonderful bass and the drums and and this other instrumentation besides harp, guitar, piano, and vocals. But I do feel it has kind of a sonic difference in that respect.
Okay. And the song Highless is going to be the first single from the album, and that's being released July 10th, right?
Yeah.
That is
true. Want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. It's a piano song.
Yeah, Highless is a fun song. Highless was written in the space of an afternoon, and it just kind of came, it's funny because when we write, a lot of times, particularly when we're writing like melodic chunks, we'll be just sort of singing nonsense over instrumentation. And then, like, so the, like, extremely early recordings I have of some of our songs, like, it literally is just nonsense. But for this one, like, some of the first passes we did of the song, as we were just conceding it, just figuring out what the bare bones of the song were, like, I can go back and I'm like singing some of the final lyrics. Like that song just wrote itself in some ways.
But on an interesting note though too, we started writing it on guitar. So when you listen to the song, on July 10th and you hear how it sounds, the song, I think, took a radical shift to piano, which I think like actually makes it sound so much more powerful.
Yeah. So Hylas is a bit of a satire as a song. It's kind of satiring the type of, I think the type of person and the attitude of like saying all the right things or like making a lot of promises that you have that just sound good and that you have no intention of keeping, because you don't actually want to like, I guess, do the work, and then like not showing up and not fulfilling those promises. So it's a little bit of a sense of like, oh, I'll ask you to take a trust fall and then I'll drop you. And the name comes from the Greek myth of Hylas and the nymphs, and Hylas who went to get water one night, and
there's the Greek mythology and water again.
Yes, it is.
Exactly.
And the water nymphs fell in love with him and drowned him, basically. Just carried him down with them, and he died. And it was also somewhat inspired by, so there was, when we were starting to write this, I was very excited about an exhibit at the Seattle Art Museum on Victorian radicals and sort of pre-Raphaelite art. And so I was thinking a lot about that sort of artistic movement and John Waterhouse's painting of Hylas and the Nymphs as well. So that's kind of a flag for the song as well.
Was it there? Did you get to see it?
No, it wasn't there. It's in England. So.
All right. And for this song, there's going to be a music video, right?
Can
you tell us about that?
Well, there's water in it. Of course, we got to.
I would like to mention that this is the second time that Darren has almost drowned in a music video.
This is true.
We're gonna have to do some sort of spoof at some point of like Darren back from the dead.
Yeah. So we filmed it at these, well, I guess 3 locations, but the first location we went to film was on Whidbey Island, and just an absolutely stunning place on the edge of like not the abyss, but like it's like looking out over like the Olympics and the Strait of Juan de Fuca and Vancouver Island, and it's just this phenomenal place, that's completely alone, surrounded by nothing, and that's where we filmed the first part of it, and then Beth found this amazing place on Pure Space down in West Seattle, Burin area, West Seattle, I guess, that is just absolutely stunning in terms of the interior and what this person did to kind of create this very unique and beautiful space. Tiny, it's like a tiny house, but it's just beautiful. And then of course, like the third space actually is the place we have. Well, it's actually where we wrote the song. So we used the piano of the people that own this beautiful house that's right on the water as part of the backdrop as well.
But yeah, Hylas, our angry baby.
Yeah.
And will the video be coming out the same day as the track, or later on?
No, a few days before.
Okay.
So the video will actually. So I don't know am I allowed to say the date? Today's date.
It depends when this is premiering. When we're broadcasting this, I guess.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So this is July 3rd that we are recording this, and the music video comes out on July 7th, and the single comes out on July 10th. So you'll already have seen it, most likely, by this time.
And if this comes out after that, apologies on my end.
All good.
Nah.
All good.
All right. So I guess my last question about the album is, how many tracks can we expect?
12.
We have 12, yeah. So our EP has 6, Through the Night has 11, and this is 12. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we actually had to leave some songs off because we actually wanted to record more, and it's hard to narrow it down to these 12. So
will those be showing up on the next album, or?
Perhaps.
Perhaps.
I mean, building an album it's not just about like the number of songs that you have written. Like there is some sort of like
it's cohesion and like
you're kind of, I don't know if you're telling a story as directly as that, but you're kind of capturing a feeling or a moment. And
yeah, there has to be like a common thread, I think, through the album, and I think both of these previous ones have that. It's a thread that ties every song together. Even in some ways, might seem, hard to relate to or more foreign or more distant. There's still a thread that ties them all.
I guess yeah, that makes sense. I guess what I was asking is, will we hear them at some point? Like,
Maybe.
will there be
Oh.
another EP?
Maybe
perhaps?
it's so funny because there are some songs that we have talked about doing an EP, and there's songs that we love and that we have played. We played in tons of shows, but we've never recorded, and they still don't yet seem to fit in any album that we've done so far. So
Yeah, I'd say come to a show, catch live versions of the songs on YouTube.
yeah.
All right.